Thank you for joining us tonight for the regular. Oh, hey Trinity. Well, thank you for joining us tonight for the June 11th, 2025 regular council meeting. Call the meeting to order. And would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Burris. Present. Councilmember Douglas.
Present.
Councilmember Hilberg.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McCauley. Here. Mayor Loman.
Here. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda order?
Motion to approve. Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Abstained, opposed? And we'll move on to item 1E, statement of conflict of interest. Do we have any new conflicts of interest from council?
None from.
None?
No conflict.
All right, great. And item 2, consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be approved by one blanket motion with a council vote, unless a council member or a member of the public requests an item be pulled from consent for discussion. Items pulled will be addressed after council completes the consent calendar vote and will require a separate motion. Are there any items that anyone on the council or from the public would like to pull from the consent calendar? Nope. Not from the public. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, abstain? Perfect. All right, as a reminder to the council and public.
Public on consent.
It was any, I asked if there's
Yes.
anything that wants to be pulled with comment. Yeah. Got it. As a reminder to the council and the public, this meeting is being live streamed, so please be sure to speak clearly into the microphones for optimal audio recording if you'd like to make a comment. We'll move on to item 3, agency reports, Placer County Sheriff. Yeah, this is the first meeting.
Good evening. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Good. Sergeant Toby Williams, Placer County Sheriff's Office. Little bit of information from last month. From the month of May, we had a total of 184 total incidents that we've responded to. 28 reports were taken. We had 19 arrests, which were pretty consistent with last month, with 18 arrests I'm sorry, 19 in May and 18 in April. 35 separate traffic stops were up from 18 from last month, in April. And we had 16 transient related calls. We figure a lot of that has something to do with the heat and just people moving through. We've successfully relocated probably about half a dozen that wanted to try to make their permanent homes along the tracks and in parking lots and such. And we were able to provide them resources and or take them to jail if it was warranted. So those folks shouldn't be an issue any longer. We're ramping up for the 3rd of July, working with CAL FIRE and CHP as well as the city to hopefully come up with a very similar line of staffing than last year. If I'm hearing correctly, there might be even a more of a crowd. So we'll try to bolster up as much as we can. But looking to be another successful year for that. So other than that, I don't really have anything. Any questions?
I know I've gone into the office before and talked to your staff in there and they've sent officers out a couple times. Our individual who likes to camp out in the dirt turnout at North Main and 174 in the black Chevy Impala and
Yeah.
tie his dog to the tree and keep all of his trash in
Okay.
there. He's back there right now.
Okay.
He's been there most of the day.
Okay.
So we might want to see if he needs anything.
Copy that.
Thank you.
Copy that.
Any questions from the public? No? All right, thank you, Sergeant. Oh. Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Left Oak Street
Mhm.
and Culver. Last Sunday, there were good bikes running up and down our road, up and down, so using the road behind us, so.
Okay.
All that.
All afternoon? Okay. Kids, adults, both? Okay. Okay. I'll have some people run some extra patrols and hopefully scare them away.
Yeah.
Okay. Will do.
I'll try and help with some outreach on that too.
I could add to that. I'm walking around town a lot. I see unlicensed dirt bikes constantly on Grass Valley Street and on Church Street
Mm-hmm.
and on Depot Street.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're scurrying around everywhere and then up and down the railroad tracks. And I can understand that you guys really don't want to get in the business of chasing them,
Correct.
but the usage is increasing monthly. You know, it's
The
more and more.
it's that happy balance of trying to stop them, right? And either educate and or cite. But if they do run, then we don't chase, just simply because most of the time they're kids. Not that that's an excuse that it's okay for them to ride on the streets, but we can't in due conscience chase a bunch of kids down the tracks, nor can we chase them.
No,
appropriately.
never would I suggest that,
Yeah.
but I'm seeing kids as young as 10, 11, 12 years
Mhm.
old, if that.
It's-
Including two of them on a dirt bike, maybe age 10.
A lot.
And sooner or later, that's not going to end well, you know?
No, absolutely. We can only do so much with the citations and the enforcement action. A lot of it comes back to the families. And when we do get them back to the families, when we do say, hey, Johnny is not allowed to do this, and they can, we try our best, right? The next steps are towing bikes and, parents, because it's inevitably their responsibility. So
Maybe just catching one or two and the word would get around.
hopefully. Sure thing. Anybody else? Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. CHP.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Officer Lyman, Gold Run CHP, Public Information Officer. I apologize. I've been out for a little bit and I had some health issues for a little while, but I think I got all that stuff taken care of. So I was just going to go over some stats here from month of May. Our office, we issued 901 citations and 320 warnings. We had 346 motorist services, total of 22 arrests. 13 of those were for DUI. And we had a total of 28 traffic collisions. 20 of those were just property damage only, and 8 were injury collisions. Thankfully, no fatalities. So we're out there and trying to make a difference out there. But we're also dealing with all of the construction and all that this summer. It's going to be quite ordeal all summer up there. They've got a lot going on and reduced lanes and, we're trying our best with what we've got out there. So does anybody have any questions for me? Yes, sir. Yes.
Do they have an idea of the success rate of that? I mean, is there a number that says we've done that much more, done that?
Well, we've only had one in our office for a few weeks now, and it has worked tremendously. And what basically all they're doing is they're just driving down the freeway at 65, 70 miles an hour and just letting people just rip by them at 100 and pulling them over. And they're just like, oh, I didn't even see you. And I'm like, yeah. And so they've issued a lot of citations in just a few weeks that we've had that vehicle. It's worked a lot. I mean, the hope is that that will get people to be paying more attention. Everybody just looks for the black and white normal patrol car, and anything other than the standard, they don't care and they're just ripping through. So the hope is that maybe that will get people to be paying attention a little bit more. Even if they are still speeding, if they're at least paying attention, that helps. So that's kind of the point that they're looking for right now. Yeah. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you. Glad you're back and doing better. Thank you for joining us tonight. Chief.
Good evening, Clint Saver, Battalion Chief for Placer County Fire, CAL FIRE. For us, for the month of May, we had a total of 7 vegetation fires, 3 residential structure fires, and 3 commercial fires along the freeway. That was a total of 94 calls for the month of May for us. We are extending burning this year. This is kind of a different program for us for direction from region. So burning is still open with permits required as long as it's a permissible burn day. We're going a week by week basis right now. So just be aware there are burn days. People are still burning and that is allowed as long as you have a valid permit, which you can get online. We are going to extend the LE5 and LE7 program as well. Once we have declared fire season, residential burning is no longer allowed. If you go get an LE5 or LE7 through the program, you can still be able to burn as long as you go through the process. We'll come out, do a site inspection and validate that and make sure that you have everything in place. So that is still an option as well this year. We'll see how that goes, and it'll kind of be a week by week basis with that as regarding fire season and how things are going. We are preparing for the 3rd of July, so we are trying to bring on extra staff for that this year as well. We should have the 2 in the golf cart this year instead of just the 1 that'll be roaming around the event. And then we also will have the 2 engines committed plus more engines for the fireworks show at the end, and we'll be more spread out. So we are prepared for that event as well this year. And then we are continuing with the DSI or defensible space inspections. We're coming around, you'll see our engines out doing those inspections, not just the inspectors themselves that we have had in the past. So they'll come out and they can give you information. They're just doing random inspections, filling those out. So you'll see them around. Feel free to bring them over. You can ask them any questions you want, and they'll come give you a free inspection of your house and just kind of give you some pointers on how to do better. So that end of the report.
Thank you. Questions?
Was the charge of changing the Smoky Bear sign low, high, medium, all that?
Yes.
Because I was in Meta Vista the other day and I go, whoa, there's weeds tall as I am all over the place. I'm thinking,
Yeah, so you're talking about the one right when you come into Meta Vista off Clipper Gap? So that one's Placer Hills. I can reach out to them and see if they'll update the sign. So I have noticed that one, yeah.
And then the other question is, you're the station in Colfax over there, Suburban Pine?
Yep, so I'm the battalion chief of Colfax and the Alta stations.
The Highway Hill Road, you first enter up
Yep.
Canyon Way,
Mhm.
those 2 properties on each side.
Yeah. Yep. We have gone through and inspected. Yep.
Waiting to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything that.
We'll go and have the inspectors go give them an inspection, and then we'll go through that process. Once we give them an inspection, give them 30 days to make all the changes, and then we'll come back and do an inspection.
Cemetery, they've got that baby Manning.
Yeah, yeah.
But the
They don't.
corner, it's like, good God.
Yeah, yeah, and we've done a lot of fuel reduction projects through that area. So that was phase 1 of the North Fork fuel break in that location. There are property owners that opted out of that program. So some of those top properties were some that opted out. So
Possibility of that area, that county or city? The.
it's county in that section. Once you drop down into the canyon there, it's.
Yeah, it's kind of hit and miss
Yeah.
there. We've got a few sections of property, but mostly it's county.
Okay.
And so she knows that, yes, you're trying to connect with her in
Mhm.
regards to that, so I brought it back to her plate, so
Okay.
hopefully you'll hear from them.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Right. Do we have any nonprofits here tonight that would like to speak? No? All right. Move on to item 4. We don't have any presentations tonight, so item 5 is our public hearing. Tonight we have 1 public hearing item on delinquent sewer service charges and refuse collection fees. Shanna, will you please introduce this item for us?
Can everyone hear me okay? All right, good evening, Council. Shanna Stahl, Administrative Services Officer for the City of Colfax. Tonight, we are here to conduct a public hearing, consider public comment, and adopt separate resolutions authorizing delinquent sewer and refuse charges to be placed on the Placer County property tax rolls for the 25-26 fiscal year. A copy of the delinquency reports is included in your agenda packets. And as of June 5th, there was approximately $135,000 outstanding in delinquent sewer charges for 70 accounts and approximately $17,000 in delinquent refuse charges. This represents a 20% reduction in sewer delinquency from last year, but the refuse delinquency has more than doubled. Are there any questions on that? All right, I'll turn it back over to you.
Larry, do you have a question?
Yeah, just briefly, that list that's in our agenda, that's effective as of June 5th. And what is it, April 10th, the dues are late or the fees are late, property taxes. So is that likely to be the same when we get into July? Because the property tax year actually ends in July. I mean, can people still pay, I guess? I guess with late fees, of course.
So they need to be considered delinquent as of this time in our fiscal year, but the file to the county doesn't get transmitted until July. So they technically have until the middle of July to try and bring themselves current at least through February 28th balance in order to be removed from the tax roll process. But the balance in total will be transmitted and due on their property taxes in December and April of next year.
So what percentage would you guess of the people on that list are on it every year? Because it rolls over to property taxes, right?
Probably a good 70%.
70%.
Yeah, we have some folks that, that's just how they handle. And I think they're kind of using it as a way to.
Hmm.
I think that's kind of how that's flowing.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, I will open the public hearing. And are there any comments from public on this item? Come on it.
Hi, Harry Anderson. Ron, you already have this.
That doesn't, this doesn't pertain to the item we're on. This isn't public comment for regular public comment. This is public
Okay,
comment for
well-
the hearing item
Okay,
for delinquent rolls.
you got it now. We'll talk about it later.
Cool, thanks. So do we have any public comment on this item? No, nothing online? All right, I will close the public hearing. Does council have any additional questions or comments?
I just have a quick comment. I'd like to schedule a time for us to revisit officially moving our billing to the tax rolls. So if we can put that on a future agenda, I'd like to discuss that.
Right, we'll bring that up, go to the order.
Can you explain exactly what you mean?
We have the option to either directly bill people or to actually do it through tax assessment. And if we do it through tax assessment, it's more efficient for us. It prevents delinquency billing. It's really, there's a lot of advantage to it. So there's pros and cons. Obviously now is not the time to discuss, but I'd like to have that on a future agenda so we can decide if we want to go that direction.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? Nope. All right, can I have a motion to approve 5A in two separate resolutions?
Motion to approve.
I second it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, abstain? Great. All right, move on to item 6, public comment. Now's your time.
Harry Anderson at the right time. You guys probably should have this too. I had made a comment and when I asked the sheriff at the last meeting, who's responsible and what have you on this stuff. And then Ron was kind enough to send me a note and ask me to did. And I'd already called report, but I think there's virtue in numbers and probably being that it's on official letterhead from the city, it might get a little bit more attention. But if you read through this thing, I hope it's self-explanatory. I didn't do north, south, east, west. I tried to use landmark, identification. And I don't know, the CHP, have you noticed that that lower bridge of ours, that there is absolutely no paint on the, when you go over from Canyon Way to Auburn Street, there is no paint on that ground at all. Zero, not stop, not a line, not nothing. And people are stopping. They don't know where. They're halfway in the intersection. So, apparently Caltrans doesn't look at anything in our neighborhood for whatever reason, but hopefully now they will. So that's that. Any questions on that? Okay, all right. 3rd of July stuff. New 5 minutes. This is what's going into the businesses in Colfax and hopefully even down in Auburn. And I think there's probably some over in Grass Valley, if I'm not mistaken. And we made it double-sided so it can be put on a door so they see it going in and then on the way out. So we get a double shot at them. And whatever we have left over from this year, we'll be able to use for next year because the 3rd of July doesn't have a year on it. And so we just keep using the same stuff over and save some money that way. Any questions about the 3rd of July deal?
Does that mean we reuse you next year also?
Well, let me explain what this, no, let me explain what this is about. Actually, you guys are the ones that did it. Somebody in this council with my bad hearing, I couldn't figure out who it was, but last year when we were talking about the 3rd of July, somebody couldn't remember my name. So they said, the 3rd of July guy. So my t-shirt guy, I said, make me a shirt that says I'm the 3rd of July guy. And the reason for that is when I go in and pitch people for sponsorship money or what have you, the idea is to have the shirt and the thing and then have somebody ask you what's that all about. I'm glad you asked. And then we make the pitch. So that's really what it's for. But anyway, this is the same thing we had last year. Crunch time, a lot of crazy stuff going on. Pull it off. We had 90 days to make 3rd of July from what everybody said, remembered, and that was on a Wednesday. We were told it wouldn't work on a Wednesday. So God help us on Thursday, because that's a 4-day weekend. So you folks are going to be pretty busy. Your quota tickets are probably going to go right through the roof. But anyway, that's all good news. But the one of the things I wanted to talk about quickly is last year I had said, can we just not, get all caught up in the egos and the backbiting and the fighting and the negative comments and everything else? Can we just get past that and get the job done? And I'm hoping that that will ultimately happen. But it seems to be happening again. And we accomplished a lot last year with a lot less help. We really did. And this year I had hoped that it was going to be even smoother, and it's not. But that's okay. I have a job to do, and that's to make this event publicized as best as I can so that we can get the revenue dollars in town that we need. And people will be talking about it so that next year at the 50th, which hopefully will be a bigger bang than this year, it will be even more successful than this one. But the last thing I want to say is the most important thing about this is not we, the people, it's us making it good for the town. And that's where I want it to stay. So thank you for the time. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Way to nail that time limit. Excellent. Any other public comment, Tom?
Greetings. I have a couple of things to say. One of them, I was coming back down the hill and following a CHP right at the brake check. And the CHP was following a truck that didn't stop and he got pulled over. So our complaining, it looks like it's working. I just wanted to bring that up because of the tire fires and all that nonsense. I want to talk about the hotel. There it sits. It's fire hazard. And I don't know, fire inspector, fire marshal that can inspect that system is working. I mean, I'm getting awful tired.
do.
Getting awful tired of seeing that thing just sitting there. My other issue is I've been walking through town a lot lately, and the sidewalk that goes right past the hotel, there's a 4-foot drop off. No hand railing or anything there. And then to make matters worse, there's a post right there. If somebody were to fall off that and hit that post, it could be fatal. I've brought this up before in the past, and I'm bringing it up again. I don't know if that's, something the city can do or put pressure on them, but, enough's enough. I dealt with this when I was on the council 12 years ago, and I couldn't get anything done when I was on the council. And so I know it's tough, but, I'm hoping that change is coming, some kind of legal thing, possibly condemning the building or whatever needs to be done. Because it's a fire hazard, and that's old lumber. And if that thing lit off, it could really spread through town. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah. Gary. If I do it for you, I got to do it for everybody. So Tom gets to come back up after you then. Go ahead.
I wanted to thank Ron for helping me be landscape manager at Mountain Village. That debatable piece of property, I don't know what the deal is, but to put our banner up there, it would have been torn to shreds with that bush. So I went out there on Sunday and hacked that thing to death, but I have my own 8 trash cans at home full of weeds. So I couldn't donate 8 trash cans to pick it up. So thank you so much for coming down and taking care of that. And that lends the question. If I was the landlord, I'd be out there cutting that thing. And is it just that little tiny piece of property that runs all the way down that sidewalk? Is it just the sidewalk that's the city's, or is that dirt the city's too? Or does anybody know?
Well, I'll remind you that for our sidewalk ordinance, the city does not own the sidewalks. They're owned by the property owners. So that little dirt area might technically be in the right of way. I'd have to check and look, but it's most likely a property owner weed abatement issue with fire in the city.
What was interesting while I was out there with the hedger and what have you, there was people walking down, going over to Starbucks, what have you. And they were thanking me for trimming the bushes. And I said, well, it's not that big a deal, but I just wondered, is that more a Caltrans thing? Is it because that's their intersection, or, who's the ultimate authority on that?
Yeah, I'll check with the building on that, and you should just probably send the property owner an invoice.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other public comment? No. Nothing online? All right, great. And we will move on to item 7. Kim, do you want to kick us off for council and staff reports?
Yes, the only thing I did, I attended a Bianchini meeting a couple of days ago with 2 of the other council members. In Auburn, I attended a meeting with Battalion Chief Rogers on fire safety, and we've had similar talks here, so I won't go into the details, but I got his perspective, which was very similar to ours. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry?
I think the last time I forgot to mention from the Central Advisory Council meeting, there's a lime kiln being made a historic site by Placer County. It's the first step toward other things. And after that, I attended a meeting by a group called, I think it's called Bear Park. It's a nonprofit that has an interest in that, what used to be the campground down there along the Bear River, and they're interested in the negotiation between Department of Fish and Game and Placer County as to what will happen to that. And that could be a major boon for Colfax. That area could, depending on how that plays out. So I went to one of their meetings, and I did go to the Bianchini board meeting as well. Basically, they made only one decision, and that was to follow their bylaws on some things that came up. That stands. And the Sierra Vista Center has a meeting scheduled. I believe it's the 17th of this month. They had lost a lot of their board, and there are now, I believe, 7 people signed up for the board. And they're about ready to have their elections, their members meeting coming up, and I guess that's only about a week off now. And that's it.
Thank you. Trinity?
So I don't have a whole lot to report tonight. I have been away just because I had to deal with the death of a couple of friends. So unfortunately, I did have to miss some meetings. But on that note, I did want to bring up to the council, if Carolyn has not already, my desire for us to do a proclamation for Susan Farwell. She passed away at the end of May or mid-May. And she was really instrumental, you know, during the winter storms, and she was 36 and just passed away of cancer. But I'm hoping that we can do something to honor her because she did quite a bit for the community. So that was my only item this evening.
Thank you, Trinity. Caroline?
In 2 weeks, I fit in 3 SACOG meetings. That's always, and one tomorrow morning.
SACOG is busy.
Yeah, when you have to rename your group sometimes, and yeah, it's colorful. It's busy. But yeah, but lots of busy work without a doubt. That someday will pan out for us and we'll get something out of it. It'll pan out eventually. I hate it when I go brain dead. What did I do for you guys? I don't know. We put lights up. There's beautiful nighttime illumination happening downtown. And the planters are purchased, and I met with the garden club, and the flowers will get purchased hopefully, and that'll be done in the next week or 2 for those planters that will be able to move around as needs be. So I keep that stuff off because that's not council in my book. So yeah, other than that, and yeah, the number of 3rd of July meetings is long and boring, so it's all good. There's lots.
Right. Thank you. Over the last couple of weeks, I attended a meeting with the city manager and met with the owner of Winter Chevy, Dave Guard, to discuss future income from his business and future projects that might need to be done around his properties and some of the properties we own right there. I got to attend the Colfax water treatment plant groundbreaking last week with the city manager, and it was a great opportunity. It's going to be a really good thing for Colfax. It'll increase our capacity and our water storage and just really improve our water system significantly. The old water treatment plant, it was built in the 1950s and has had very little upgrades since then. So this will be a huge retrofit, bring in new treatment processes, give us much higher quality water too. So it's really, really big for Colfax. It should be done. They were saying 2027 should be completed. Just barely made it up here from the LAFCO meeting. And earlier today, I also met with the owners of Shady Glen to discuss the city's future plans for assisting with their sewer system and possible annexation of the area. And that's it. City manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a draft agreement for backup generator service and with the provider. We're just waiting to hear from them back, make sure they're comfortable with all the language. Staff is working to schedule with the electrician to fire up the solar system out at the wastewater treatment plant. We're expecting that sometime next week, knock on wood. Maintenance staff, we are working diligently over the next 3 weeks to clean up Main Street area and the depot area for the 3rd of July celebration. So that includes some painting along the curbs, some bench painting. So we're gonna redo the benches so they look nice and just overall beautification. Maintenance has also performed a bunch of vegetation cleanup in the areas of North Main Street, past the boat shop, South Auburn and Canyon Way around Sewer Lift Station 5. It's assisted with the mold inspectors for the fire station. We're just waiting for remediation bids. And this is the station right over here. We added some brighter lights to the visitor center inside the building. They were a little dark when the new LED lights come put in, so we've updated those, and those were paid for by Eco Green, so they just supplied them with the lights, we put them in. The splash pad is up and running. There had to be some repair on the on and off switch, as we have reports of somebody's kid using that as a soccer training post, just kicking it until it was broken. So we're currently trying to track down the manufacturer to order a few more switches to have in stock. And let's see, we've had the HVAC repair. And the staff also added a booster pumping air system to the irrigation system of the ballpark to help the sprinklers reach areas that they couldn't reach in the past. So that should help with some of the dead and dying grass up there in the summertime. And that's all I have.
Do you mind commenting on the work going on next to Chevron and the empty lot there?
Oh, the one next to Chevron.
Got a lot of questions about it. People seeing equipment move over there.
All right, so the building department, Joe and our building department called the landowner, and apparently that is just a staging area for some construction equipment for now. So unfortunately, nothing exciting coming to Colfax on that. Bummer.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to item 8, council business. We have one item on the agenda tonight, and that is a donation request from the nonprofit Sierra Soar. City manager, you want to kick this off?
All right, at the May 28th city council meeting, Bob Morales of the Sierra Soars boys basketball program requested funding to support the program. The request included financial assistance for equipment and repairs to certain areas of the SVC, basically the gym area where the basketball is played. At the time, council decided to table item until tonight's meeting. Bob has since provided additional information, which is included in the staff report. The report outlines the costs incurred by the nonprofit organization related to the basketball program. And I believe he's brought some more information on the table there. Bob, you want to come up and? So Bob's here to answer all your questions tonight.
I brought a fundraising program, so you can see that in email, but this is our latest program that we generated in there as part of our fundraising efforts. And if you look inside there, that's all Colfax businesses. There's information on each there, which is history, legacy of the program. There's a lot of information there to just illustrate what we do.
And Bob, I had a quick question. So the Sierra Soar Foundation, is this meant to be a more standalone foundation aside from the Falcon Foundation so that it's going directly to that program?
Yeah, so there.
I was going to ask about, okay, thank you.
Yeah, because I had to get some clarification too. I'm not really involved in that. I'm a coach. And so we fundraise as the basketball program. Sierra Soar, which was just founded in January, but had been kind of in existence, handles other fundraising events like our golf tournament.
Gotcha.
And so if you'll see on those two, the illustrations I gave, the golf tournament is Sierra Soars, but the basketball camps are our fundraising efforts directly made by the high school.
And so when you guys do your fundraising, does it directly funnel through the Falcon Foundation primarily at this time, or which nonprofit does it usually funnel through?
Well, now it goes to Sierra Soar. We didn't have one before, and
Right.
so it put limitations on things where we could get money.
Yeah.
And so they worked to get that organized so we could approach other entities that we couldn't in the past.
No, that helps. I ask just because I know that the girls basketball team has a similar issue. And
Yeah,
we've actually had funds get rejected for some reason by the Falcon Foundation, have to go
right.
through a hassle. And I figured that was probably the reason 3 being brought in, because I noticed they were just officially formed and given an EIN in November of 2024. Struggle between all the different
Yeah.
entities.
yeah, which I really wasn't privy to a lot of that, so hopefully I'm have more information for you. Are there any other questions or what should I provide for you guys?
If you had something to present, I mean, please feel free and we can ask questions after.
Oh,
You got
yeah.
anything else?
No, my presentation is really just a copycat of the last information I gave in the presentation. I know that you guys had some questions regarding that specific item. But, we're really here, we're trying to grow the basketball program. We're really happy with the results that we've had in the spring camp. We had 60 kids. In the summer camp, we're expecting 90 kids. And it's all the children in the region. And so that was part of some of our motivation to try and get the community center more usable so we could have more kids, have some of the games down there, attract more, people to the area. We think that also that as a program, if we spend, our money, our time, our hundreds of hours of labor and donation and give back to the city, that whenever the program's looking for money downtown from businesses, that they'll remember that, we gave back to the community. And really that's our macro look at what we're trying to do. And we really believe in it. It was really Coach Edlin's, this is Coach Gary Edlin. He's a former player. He's been coaching 40 years, coach, right? Colfax? Too long time. And so we really just started talking about the community center when we were looking into exploring, finding more areas to have basketball. And we thought, man, there's so much potential there. If we could just continue to improve it, start indoor with the gym, and then kind of move outward. There's a lot of potential there where we could raise money, pickleball courts in, and then, get. And then, so it'd really be a community gathering spot to draw kids. I brought in one of the kids right here. He just told me outside, there's nothing to do in this town. And so if there was a basketball court, we asked him again, kids don't play pickleball. He said, we go to Meta Vista Park to play pickleball all the time, kids. So there's really a demand there that hasn't been identified. And I think that if we could really improve that facility, and in the long run, the baseball field, we should be able to get going again, that it'd really be a draw for families in the city.
So just out of curiosity, have you guys been able to come to any kind of initial terms or agreements with the Sierra Vista Center regarding access, use, any terms of conditions of any donation to them? Any of that come up?
Well, we're not donating to the center. We're using funds donated to the Colfax basketball program to do things for the community center.
Right. So if the community center is receiving capital improvements, though, have they agreed to provide access to?
Oh, yeah.
Because they are a separate entity from.
Yeah, no, they have the open door to us to come in and do any improvements that we need to, and that make time available for us to go in there and, paint the floor, sand the floor, do all the things we need to do. We wanted to put some logos on the walls and really fix the place up nice, but
Yeah.
yeah, the last time I was there, I spoke to Red. I haven't spoke to the new council, haven't met any of them. But they were very open to us coming in to do whatever it took for us to get it done. Hopefully I answer your question.
But you don't have an agreement, with them like outlined on paper as to.
No,
access.
like I
Because
said-
Red's not even on their board, so.
Yeah.
Red's just a volunteer. He's not on the board of the Sierra
Sure.
Vista Center, so.
We don't feel like there'll be any resistance to us improving their facility.
Oh, we don't doubt that they'll let you, yeah. Let's say that. We
It's
just want to make
more-
sure there's no communication issue.
No,
Making sure
we're-
you have a use agreement, but like you talked about putting the logos on the wall, which I absolutely understand why you'd want it, but their previous desire they have expressed to the council was to make it nicer to rent it out for parties and weddings and things like that, and I don't think those two things go together. You can, but I'm just saying, to me, if we're gonna put money into that building, we should also have them here to be able to commit to that as well, but you guys need to have a contract for access to that if you're going to hand them over money that you've been given. You need, instead of just a verbal agreement, you really want to protect yourself with a contract as
Yeah.
to who's going to have keys, what are they going to provide, and how often you can come in and use it just to protect yourselves to make sure.
Oh,
that it's
sure.
there.
I appreciate the direction. This is kind of a new path for us. But as I mentioned before, we don't plan on giving the community center money. we're gonna come in and just do the labor and the work. Sure, we all will, right? And so that's our goal. It's not just about them. It's not just about us. It's about the entire community and what we can accomplish there.
I was present for some of those discussions. The Sierra Vista Center is very supportive of this. I mean, we have a group that's willing to come in and pay to fix that floor without the money flowing through the Sierra Vista Center. I think that both the boys and girls basketball programs here have been very good for this community. They spread goodwill all over the area. At least I know it goes before, but during the 30 years I've lived here, they put Colfax on the map time and time again. And so I think this would be a win for Colfax. I think it would be a even bigger win for the kids, because this isn't kids just playing hoops out on the concrete. This is supervised, adult supervised basketball and teaching, and by people that are dedicated and people that are volunteers and people that are putting their own time and money into it. And I think also it could be transformative for the Sierra Vista Center. And I mean, I'll just throw a number out there for now. I think we ought to donate at least $5,000 to get them started. And that's just my number. And I don't know of any reason why we would not do that.
So I had sent Carolyn an email earlier about this. I think, just from my perspective, I think the concept is fantastic. I would love to see this be something that, like you said, benefits all of our youth programs and community programs. If capital improvements go into that building, especially with tax dollars, I want to make sure that the taxpayers and the community get to benefit from the work that's put in. And my condition I would have on being supportive is that the Sierra Vista Center would have to be willing to enter into a formal MOU with the city of Colfax, giving us authority to grant access for community programs and give us access. And if we're able to do that and come to an agreement where we can get a good MOU in place, I would be more than comfortable funding and even moving money around in the budget. Irrevocable rights to access.
I think
Otherwise,
that,
I can't
that's
really.
basically their mission, is to support the kids and the seniors of Colfax.
Great. And if we can establish an MOU with the Sierra Vista Center to do that, just to make sure that that right to access is protected for the kids and the families and the community who put in the labor.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Then I am 100% on board. That is really, if we can get that done, then that's where I'm at.
And I think I like Trinity's idea, and I somewhat misread your email wrong. That's what happens when you read quickly. I thought you were talking about them having an MOU, not the city. So though, now that I've processed it, it makes sense. Because that's kind of what my hesitation is right now. It goes along with, now we're putting taxpayer money into the building, and I don't feel that that's the way the facility's been run in the last several decades and the turmoil that it's in right now. I can't comfortably say that I'm okay putting our tax dollars, our constituents' tax dollars over there. But if we can get an MOU written that will ensure that our community can use it more often, more frequently, then I would be more open to having a discussion with a larger amount of money. If we want to break it up into two parts, I would say I would make a motion maybe to give $1,500 to the program for them to be able to use for supplies they need for the camps they're doing this summer. Whether, I know they wanted a television system and they were talking about needing some equipment. And then if we can get an MOU with Sierra Vista, come back and revisit it for a larger amount.
I like that idea. I think that's good. I think we definitely need to protect those tax dollars if they're going in due to the way it's being managed right now. Kind of put Shannon on the spot because I cannot remember what we said at the last meeting for how much we had in 2,500. So I'd be okay with giving that amount of finishing off what we have in our donation budget right now, just to go to the program and not necessarily the community center. So you guys can get some of the stuff you need. And then that'll give us time to get into July and work out an MOU with the Sierra Vista Center. And then we can adjust our budget to make sure you guys get what you need on top of what we're already donating. Yeah, it'll make it easier for us too. It'll push us into that next year. It'll give us that whole amount for donations, and we can adjust from that once we know what we're able to provide to you.
Oh, man, that's fantastic.
Excellent.
We appreciate that.
Great.
And just to answer your question, our idea on the school logos on the wall. So last year we had the Colfax basketball boys banquet there. And so where we had it at Winchester in the past. And so our feeling is that the more events we have at the community center, the more, parents are business owners, they own homes, they pay tax dollars. The more exposure it gives to them, like, oh, I didn't even really know this was here. I didn't know the pickleball courts were here. I didn't know they could play basketball here. I didn't know this place is so great. I'm going to rent it now for my company, whatever. So we feel like that's just a great direction to go. And so, but we really appreciate it.
Please.
So my name's Gary Edlin. I graduated from Colfax in 1975 and then played basketball and went on to play basketball in college and whatnot. So now I have a son and he's a teammate of Ian's right there. And so Ian, where do you go to play basketball most of the time? What town?
There really isn't one to go. We get a amateur coach to let us in Colfax.
Yeah, so most of the time you're playing down in Rockland, the Hardwood Palace or
Yes.
so my son's the same way. So they have to go down to Rockland and Roseville and stuff like that. And I remember when I was coaching here after I had graduated and come back, we used to, when the gym was not available at the high school, we would have the team jog up to the old elementary school and we'd play basketball there. But also my son now, he goes to the ARD in Auburn every Saturday and there's probably, I don't know, 60, 75 adults and kids play there every Saturday and Sunday. And I think at Colfax, it would be a great thing to have an open gym like that where adults and kids could come play together because that's how the kids get better, with the adults and they make friendships and, it's just a good thing. And so, and then whatever else, just for the kids to be able to have a spot to go, and play, I think it would be nice. And I mean, they don't have to, own all the time there, but I mean, a time where they could go play, I think would be nice. I know my son would love that. I mean, Ian probably would. And that's kind of just the behind the scenes, what kids do now, if they're really interested in basketball. And I think it would be a great resource to be able to come up here and then, start a new tradition with the kids and the adults in town that, hey, we're going to go to Colfax. We're not going to Auburn. We're not going to, Loomis or Rockland. So just thanks for your time. Just wanted to.
Thank you.
Yeah, in Auburn, you say there's adults, that many people, do they pay to play?
No, it's at the ARD.
Okay.
Auburn Recreation District, the headquarters there. I don't know the address. That's where they show up. I think it's Sunday morning for sure. That's when a lot of adult kids show up.
They probably go to the stores around there.
Maybe, sure. They go after you're done, you gotta get something to drink, right? Water or stuff like that. But it's funny, my son started showing up there and there was a fellow named Bernard Pete. He'd gone to Placer in, probably in the 70s, but he told my son, I thought it was really interesting. He said, we've mentored a lot of kids through the years. They show up there and they play every Sunday and they play whenever they can. And it's they have a system where the old people show up and still play. And then they become the old people and mentor the literally probably hundreds of them. I'd like to see that at Colfax, I think that'd be good.
ARD has a 15 opening Tuesdays and Fridays. So there's a lot of options.
Great. Thank you.
Just a comment, the gym floor needs some repairs. That's what this money is about. And they have a couple estimates that are between $12,000 and $14,000 to correct the repairs from water damage and to refinish the floor and put the new lines on and everything. And that's part of their estimate. And it includes new glass backboards and several other things. And the Sierra Vista Center's mission, and I go to all their meetings, is to support the people of Colfax, particularly the kids and the seniors. And to my knowledge, they have never turned down usage for that gym, ever. And so to even suggest, I'm not sure why we would need an MOU just because we gave them $5,000. I think we need to just do it.
Unfortunately, I have been on the receiving end multiple times of that being turned down for events, whether it be emergency service or whether it be for youth programs. I have been on the other end of it. And it's been unfortunate. And so that's where that's coming from for me.
Yeah, I have too, and I have serious concerns about the management and the direction it's been going. So I can't in good conscience donate money to the service center until I know that stuff is getting handled properly.
And to be clear, it's not a reflection on you or the others who are very dedicated like you are, because there are some really good people who've been involved with that organization for a very long time. But unfortunately, they have not always gotten to see the dark side of what was happening behind their back. And that's the depth of where my concern lies.
Going to make a comment here. There are people up here behind the dais that are on the verge of spending $475,000 of taxpayer money for a skate park for a minority of kids. And you're suggesting that we be less willing to give $5,000 to a supervised program by a skate park.
City owns the skate park and we're managing the skate park. And if we're putting the money into it, that's how I feel it's appropriate. And if we're going to put
There's
additional public
$175,000 of public money.
Yep.
Including $105,000 from Colfax. So I
Yes.
think we could be supportive of basketball as well.
Well, and I think we are supportive. And I think, while I understand the link between those two, there is a fundamental flaw in the relationship there, because what we're talking about is providing a donation that will directly be for the express purpose of capital improvements to a private facility by a private organization, as opposed to a situation where public funds are being used for a public park that is open to the public. So that's kind of the key consideration. And then just from a legal standpoint, I think the concern is given the historical context and, the number of things that have happened, there is a very defined interest of the public and us as stewards of the public's money to ensure that the public has a right to access what they're spending money on. And that's really where that's coming from for me.
Well, I think if we're gonna talk about times that they turned the city down for some usage, I think we should be specific. I don't know if it's appropriate that we do that tonight. Even have all the $5,000 till July 1st.
I would agree with that. And I would say I don't think it would be fair to have that conversation without the Sierra Vista Center present to represent themselves and speak on their behalf either. And I think that that's really where this comes down, because a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, the whole point is that you're coming to terms and an understanding with another group. You're coming to mutually agreeable solutions that you both believe are in the best interest of both groups, and you're putting it in writing so that those that come after you can see why you did it, what terms you came to, and they know that there's a guiding principle in place. So, even if everything had gone perfect to date, even under the best of circumstances, I would still feel that if the money was to be directed to capital improvements for a private facility, I would still feel strongly that an MOU is necessary to ensure that that capital improvement was usable going forward with new board members who maybe have different interests, wanting to profit or, go a different direction with their business model, et cetera. So it really, again, it's just a safety net. It's really not a whole lot more than that safety net.
I'm not against an MO. What sort of form it would take and a council meeting between this council and their board of directors. Yeah. Sierra Vista Center.
Yeah, the board of directors technically has the authority over that. So they're 501c3 and they own the facility.
BJ is the past president at this point, so she has a board position, being as she was the president a year ago. And then they're going through their elections next week, I think you said it was, Larry?
Yes.
To put the new board in place. So No, she'll stay on there as past president. I don't believe she can be president this upcoming year. I think they have to have 2 years between them, but I don't remember. But she's still involved with it.
Okay, we'll go, if you want a public comment, you can come up, comment on that item.
Out of this city.
I don't think that has anything to do with
I think it has a lot
tonight.
to do with it. Because those people that have been running this thing, why is there so much opposition to the city wanting to use that thing?
Well,
It's supposed to be the Bianchini Fund.
I'd like more details about that because I'm not sure. We just heard that it
Well,
happened, so
If you have the wrong.
we don't have
people
any
running something,
details.
Larry, it's real simple. It doesn't work.
We can discuss that further later. It's not appropriate to discuss that here. Even though we brought it up.
just
Right.
point of order, if you guys are addressing council, let's keep the comments to council, just to make sure that we keep order.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion then, as part of the, if we're gonna pursue an MOU for capital improvements, can we put together a subcommittee? I'm not sure. We've got a lot of different positions throughout council that have to do with the Sierra Vista Center. I have some draft language I'm gonna send over to Connor in a second here as just a starting point. So I'd be interested, but I think we should have a subcommittee that meets with the Sierra Vista board to kind of negotiate some initial terms and then put that in front of council, rather than trying to drag them in here and negotiate it in front of the public.
Yep. My suggestion would be our Bianchini member and one of our Sierra Vista Center ad hoc members to join forces on that.
Okay.
So we can look at that. I can make a motion about that, right?
The Bianchini, because the Bianchini technically has oversight authority over the Sierra Vista, should we technically not have that person be on the board negotiating or on the ad hoc negotiating with the Sierra Vista Center?
The Bianchini board is the trustee for the Bianchini Trust.
Yes.
The Sierra Vista Center is actually a separate legal entity with its own board.
Correct.
The two are different governing bodies. So the
Right.
Bianchini, it is not accurate to say the Bianchini board has
Control over their
authority
funds,
over the Sierra Vista Center.
just their main funds.
They are the trustee for the Bianchini Trust.
Yes.
Your question, whether one of the city's representatives on that board can be part of a subcommittee
Or
to
should be.
negotiate this MOU? Is that the question?
Yes.
It's whether they could or should be. Because if we have someone who, is our liaison with Sierra Vista, that makes sense to me. But if we have someone who is on a board that controls funds for that board, contract negotiation, that to me seems conflict to me.
I agree. I think the bigger conflict would actually be in their capacity as a trustee.
Right.
So yeah, with on the spur of the moment here, I would recommend against that, but if you'd like me to, I can dig into it further and write it up. Okay.
That's fine. We don't even need anything close like that. If it's
Yeah.
questionable, no problem.
I just don't want us to negotiate something that have it get called to question later.
Yep. No, that's fine. Okay. Well, let's take this in, can we do two different motions on this? Okay. Oh, we got more public comment, so,
So maybe close the council's discussion and open public comment and then
Yep,
start making
yep.
motions.
all right, everybody good on council? You got more comments? Kim, anything?
Yeah, I am too. And just to be clear, I'm not on their board. I'm just the liaison between the council and their board. But I do go to all the meetings, so I have a pretty good handle on what's been happening over there.
You and Kim?
Yeah. And me and Larry are,
I'd be happy to represent on that with Larry, but obviously we'll wait till motions.
okay. Any other comments from council on this? Okay,
I'd have
And-
the same interest. I
Okay.
would like to serve on that committee.
sounds good.
'Cause
So
I
we've got,
think we could negotiate a good agreement very quickly.
all right, great. So we've got two items up that we're gonna talk about and have public comment on. One is donating $2,500 to the board. The second will be setting up a ad hoc committee to work on an MOU. I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. Tom, go ahead. I'll get the person online right after.
Yeah, I'm in favor of giving that. And I just had a few notes. I heard the word turmoil used. And if we're going to wait for it to happen, let's remember this for the kids, all right? And if it keeps kids off their dirt bikes, I'm definitely for it. But I wanted to give you a little history about the city because we have a history of having basketball. In fact, when I worked for the city, we had a mold problem here at City Hall and we had to remodel everything, tear everything out. There was a false ceiling here, and when we took it out, there was a basketball hoop right there and right there and here. You know, I mean, look at the floor. So let's not over talk this, overthink this. This isn't a whole lot of money. There's always going to be problems. Let's get it done and not look for ways done. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. All right. No other public comment in the building? No? All right. Take the online comment. Travis, thank you for joining us. If you want to unmute your mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, excellent. I just wanted to provide a brief rundown of the history of the community center and the things I have tried to do to promote situations such as this. One was learning how the Bianchini Fund came to be. And that was a gentleman passed away and he gave about $1 million to the city so that it wouldn't be taken from his family. And the city took it. And then we had, and Tom might recall, some problems with the wastewater plant. And the city gifted $1 million about to the Sierra Vista Center. The Sierra Vista Center then took about half of that money and invested it into high-risk funds in the stock market, mortgage market, money market, whatever you want to call it, and lost it. They then kept coming back to the city and asking for money. They then developed a board that was more than 14 members deep. And with a board of 5 people, you can imagine there's a little bit of turmoil, but imagine 14 people trying to come up with a decision. I eventually got a job working for the city. I got handed the job of managing grants. I got a grant of $88,000. It's about to expire. Give it away, give it away, give it away. I was told. I went to the Sierra Vista Center and they couldn't agree on anything to spend $88,000 on. They all wanted, Connie wanted different color paint and Mark wanted different color this, and I shouldn't say names, but everybody wanted something different and nobody could come up with it, and that grant expired. And so I'm a little concerned that this new board, which I have not met and I do not know, hopefully is smaller, much less than 14 members, can be aware of the fact that, money, at least free money, has an expiration date. And when you come to the city asking for money after you got $1 million, it really doesn't look good. Why couldn't you have done this? Why couldn't you have done that? There's lots of questions out there. I'm totally supportive of all kids programs. And in fact, that $88,000 grant required that the community center start a children's program for sports or a seniors citizens program for palliative care, or an after-school program for kids when their parents don't get off work till after the few hours they're out of school. And we couldn't come to any sort of agreement. Now that was about 8-9 years ago. So hopefully things have changed. But I highly suggest the ad hoc committee. I highly suggest your ad hoc member be highly, highly part of that investigation and consideration in this matter. But I'm all for youth sports, especially the skate park. Go, go, go. And that's all I have to say on this matter.
Thank you, Travis. Any other online comments? No. All right. I'll bring it back to council then. So we got two things. Do we just discuss assigning an ad hoc? Do we have to vote? All right, can we vote on an ad hoc tonight?
That'd be
Since it's
great.
not on the agenda. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, just want to make sure.
It's related to the item that is on the
Got it.
agenda.
That's what I figured, but I just want to make sure.
I second Sean's motion.
All
that
right,
he
hold
made.
on. Let me go ahead and make the motion.
You're gonna
I'll-
make it
I'll
again?
make it. So the first motion is that we donate the remaining funds in our nonprofit donation fund to the basketball, Sierra Soar, the basketball group, and continue to evaluate what we have available for next year. And that'll be my first motion.
I'll second your motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second motion is that we establish an ad hoc committee to develop an MOU between the city and regarding access right.
To clarify, do we need to? Do I need to accept that motion or can I ask a clarifying question?
You can ask a clarifying question.
To clarify, because you said it's gonna be a lot easier if we make sure there's nothing crossed over, which actually by default would mean that Larry, Kim, and myself are not eligible for that, because Larry's the liaison to Sierra Vista and Kim and I are to be on Keeney board. So by default, I would think that would mean it would fall on.
I think it's fine if Larry would be
Okay.
part of the committee.
Okay, I just
Yes.
wanted to make sure that we were.
He doesn't have a fiduciary obligation to the.
Okay, that's why I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page, so.
Okay,
Okay,
so
perfect.
from a motion, we establish an ad hoc committee between the city to establish an MOU between the city and the Sierra Vista Center for right of access and control of access. And my recommendation is that Trinity and Larry be the members on that subcommittee.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All good.
Hopefully they will be.
Was that clear as mud? Good enough?
Ad hoc with Trinity and
Larry.
Larry to negotiate MOU for access to Sierra Vista Center in exchange for donation of funds for improvements.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure. All right, great. Got that out of the way. We'll go ahead and move on to item 9, go to the order. Kim, you got anything for go to the order?
Just one thing, referring to Tom Parnham's comment about the hotel. I am working with the city council in Auburn. They are working on an ordinance concerning hotels and businesses that have been closed for years. So when that ordinance is finished, then I'm going to submit it to our council to review and see if it fits for us. So that's one way to put some pressure on hotels that are not open. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Larry?
Yeah, I was encouraged to know that Connor is looking into the suggestion I made last time, that we can have some kind of a forum outside the Brown Act. And I still believe it should be associated with our meetings, not a separate workshop. And do it the way, anyway, I heard from Connor and he was wondering how he could learn more about how they put that together.
I did take a look at the Placer County Board of Supervisors, the supervisor you referred me to, I took a look at her webpage. It looked to me like that was a Brown Act committee formed by the Placer County Board. They are having unagendized discussions. What I was wondering is perhaps it was a discussion by the supervisor with her constituents about things that were not on or within the jurisdiction of that committee. But it did look to me to be a Brown Act committee, so it was not clear to me how they were having a free-for-all half-hour discussion before at the head of their meetings.
Yeah. It was popular enough that it lasted an hour, but we were told that night in the room that it allowed the people in the audience to go back and forth with the people behind the dais because of that reason. And so people were making public comment, and basically there was engagement between the people on the commission and the public on a number of different things. And if my memory serves, it was during that part of the meeting that the police and the fire departments and those people also presented. But it was outside of the scope of the meeting, and they actually didn't start the meeting for that. The meeting started after that. So, you know, I'm not an attorney. I don't know how they set that up, but somebody does.
To clarify for Councilmember Burris, there was a question raised at the end of the last meeting during the good of the order about whether the city could have a kind of an open forum public discussion for a half hour at the head of our city council meetings. And I said I wasn't, we kind of, I talked to Ron and we kind of said, well, we could set a public workshop, but it's hard to have a discussion that doesn't have any boundaries under the Brown Act. And I told Councilmember Hilberg I would take a look at the Placer County agenda because he mentioned a particular Placer County supervisor was a member of a subcommittee for Placer County, and she was leading this discussion. And I said I would take a look at it and see how that worked. I did, and I don't know how it worked. As my understanding of the Brown Act is that what he's describing is not permissible. It would work if we set up a public workshop, if we had some kind of, you could call it a state of the city, something like that, and say we're going to take comment for a half an hour on the state of the city. But what you're describing to me, kind of an open forum with the public by the committee, unnoticed, unagendized, without parameters, that in my opinion is outside of the Brown Act.
I'll have to bring my agenda to you so you can see what that looked
fantastic.
like. Yeah, because my interest is more engagement with the public from us behind the dais and the people out there, and not just public comment where we can't really respond or aren't supposed to respond unless it's on the agenda. So I'm interested in, and that's where Cindy was going with that also. They want to encourage more public comment and more public attendance, and so do I. And this is a way to get there.
Yeah, I totally hear where you're coming from. I did look into it and I just wasn't able to figure out how they were doing that in compliance with the Brown Act. And
I'll follow up myself a little bit.
Okay. I was recently threatened, or not me, but a client was recently threatened by the local district attorney for violating the Brown Act. So it does happen. It's not consequence free, and I don't want to recommend something that we can't defend. So.
Me neither. That's why we have attorneys, right? Kim and I are on an ad hoc committee regarding. I have not located a nonprofit that's ready to step up and run that, and I know that the city can't run it. And I would just suggest that maybe we agendize that for one of our meetings and publicize it and see if we can gain somebody willing to step up. And it needs to be an organization with volunteers and an organization that can write checks and accept payments. And the lack of anybody stepping up to do that is actually very disappointing. Because if we truly want something, it seems like somebody would step up. And so if nobody stepped up, what does that mean? I don't know. And I know there are several Christmas events that are going to happen regardless, like a parade and a Santa Claus and a soup kitchen, regardless of whether anything else happens or not. But anyway, I'd like to get that on our agenda so we can talk about that a little bit because the city clearly can't run it. Just a suggestion.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Trinity, you got anything for the good order?
I got nothing, Nate.
Thank you. Caroline?
Reminder that there is an official City of Colfax decorating contest for the 4th of July. It was put out on the city website with beautiful graphics and all the information that Amanda put out. Farmers markets tomorrow. Don't forget that, farmers markets tomorrow. And there is one more fundraiser for the 3rd of July. It will be our last one, and it will be a car wash on Sunday, the 22nd, over at the Keys Salon there, and we'll have treats for you and get your car washed and help us get over the tail end of it. And we'll be good. That's all I got.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm just gonna address that we did set up an ad hoc for the city to basically take over the management operation of the Winterfest event. And you guys volunteered for it. So I'm gonna ask that you guys set up a workshop time so that we can get together with
I don't believe that's what we agreed to.
that was what we agreed to. Well, that was what was proposed and you guys jumped in on it, but my recommendation is gonna be that we set up a workshop. If you guys could get together and pick a date, we can post it and we can all show up. Maybe we get a nonprofit in there and we can start doing planning. That way it can be a group event instead of just on YouTube. So if you guys could pick a date for the only other thing I had, which at it, and it was brought to us tonight. So we should be seeing the skate park coming on our next agenda. We have all of the plans finalized and ready to be approved by council or reviewed and possibly approved by council. So we're in that final stretch. It'll be on the next agenda finally. Many years in the making. And that's all I had. City manager, you got anything for good order?
Oh, I'd just like to ask you to come by this week or next week and we'll talk about that agenda item.
Excellent. All right, and public comment on good of the order? Anybody
one online.
in here? No? All right.
I do have one online.
Okay, Travis, go ahead. Oh, gotta unmute the mic, just like I did.
Sean, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Thank you so much. It's been a long time coming. Those are the best words I've ever heard out of a council meeting in my life. Boy, gonna be really nice to see it actually happen. Thank you very much. Thank you, council. Thank you, attendees. Appreciate everyone there. It's a good meeting.
Thank you, and hopefully the next best words you can hear are approved.
Yes, sir.
So, all right. So another public comment on good of the order. Great, then we will adjourn. Thank you all. Mhm. Absolutely.
I'm not supposed to start drafting. You guys are gonna shoot them first. Thank you.
Probably, okay. Yeah, I think she'll send you some stuff and you can kind of look it over.
Please be in draft.